So I've put this lesson in here because there's so much content already. If we're going to do schema theory, multi-store model, and working memory in just 4 lessons, that's way too much. So I wanted to slow things down with another lesson. And also the learning outcome from the IB is about comparing the models. But I don't think they're actually going to be asked to compare because, well, it's not a command, it's not an exam term. But we can use the comparison to try to evaluate the models. And like I said, it just gives us another lesson to try to consolidate what they've learned so far. All right, so can they figure out the similarities, and how do these similarities demonstrate the value of cognitive models? And the value of cognitive models was one of the specimen paper questions for the ASACs, the Applied SAQ in paper 1, where they had to explain the value of cognitive models based on some model of empathy. And it was a very, very tricky question. So anyway, Peer Share, what did they come up with? Klingberg's TED Talk. Students always love, I love showing this video. Chimpanzees have an amazing working memory. This probably you don't have time for, but it's just a kind of a funny take. This comedian talks about where he stores memories. And like me, this guy talks way too fast, but that's a pretty good review. So I've put these in here just for your reference, but I would probably only be showing this one, and maybe later in the class or course, if we have time, come back to these. Now, I swear, I asked ChatGPT when I was making this unit plan, were you created with the help of the multi-store model? And it said yes, and it gave me all these long-winded answers. And then, what about the working memory model? Yes. And I'm like, fantastic, this is so cool. We can get the students to ask ChatGPT and then see what it says. And now, every time I've since then tried, I can't find history of the chat. And also, every time I ask it now, it says something different. So, if the students say, was AI influenced, it should come up with some kind of answer like, yes, indirectly, it sort of helped it a little bit. And then that's enough at this stage. But it's the idea being that these models of cognition do have real-world applications. And there's probably more abstract, advanced models of the brain that have had a more direct influence on AI, but I don't know, you can get them to ask ChatGPT, see what it says. Okay, here we get into the specifics. Again, I like to make things concrete. 3 reasons models are valuable. Okay, and then we can talk about the specific. They are testable, and they are applicable. Now, this is a me, we, you activity. This one, the first one, the teacher's really explaining. This is me. I'm going to explain. And then here, I'm going to give you the first part, they're testable. Can you work with a partner? We'll kind of do this together. How have they tested the multi-store and working memory model? I realized in planning this, we've got a study for the multi-store, how they tested it, but not for working memory. So there's the blog post there that might help. And then models are applicable. Can they do this one by themselves? So I'm sure there's some other name for this, but I just called it a me, we, you. Venn diagram, simple compare and contrast, again to get them to consolidate. You might even want to do this before you do the other activity. That could be something to consider. I thought about after I was writing the lesson plan. Chalk talk, applications of the multi-store model, applications of the working memory model, just in case they didn't get it in their workbooks. Here. Fun TED Talk. I'm kind of using these. If you had my first edition textbook, I had the if you're interested box. A lot of these TED Talks are now going into these homework. I quite like the idea of giving videos for homework. And there's a crazy ending, that one. Okay, then we get into biology of memory coming up next.